Well, howdy, safety pros. Appreciate y'all being here today. I'm Brandon Hagan with Safety Network, and as always, we are very excited to be here to share our safety knowledge with y'all. Before we jump into the content today, let us just take a brief moment to give you an overview of who Safety Network is. We won't go into a lot of detail, but this way you guys will all have a better understanding of, why we do what we do, as well as why we selected the people today to help come share their perspective on safety with you. One of the most unique aspects of Safety Network, of our organization, is that we are a collection of essentially competing businesses. We are a group of safety distributors, and we seek to find the best safety distributors in the industry and help them elevate their game even further. To earn membership in our group, a safety distributor has to, have a certain set of core principles that we take very, very seriously. And one of those main principles is, they need to be a safety expert. They can't be a generalist distributor, and they have to have the ability to walk into their customers' facilities or their customers' manufacturing sites or construction sites and help them address their safety challenges. They need that knowledge, that expertise in order to earn membership into our group. And then once they're here, we even take it a step further to help them advance that knowledge all the more. In fact, every member of our group has to put their teams through over 150 hours of safety equipment training, just to make sure that we have a baseline standard of excellence that you guys can rely on. We call that training program our Safety Equipment Expert Certification, our SEE, our C certification for short. And you can find folks that are going through that based on the badges that they wear. It'll say SEE on it in a little shield on their business card, their email signatures. But that's just one example of how a group of competing distributors have come together to help all of them raise their games. And another element of what makes our group so special is that not only do we have a bunch of businesses that are willing to put their competitive nature aside in order to put safety first and help elevate all their games, but we also strictly support independent businesses, and that's a very conscious choice that we make. We believe that at its core, an independent business is still that relationship-oriented business. Their customer service first. They're always putting people before policies, and they're always putting their customers before a quarterly earning report. And that's something that we know holds true when an organization is independent. And so we look to help those folks remain in the industry when competition is very, very tough. It's hard to compete against some of those Goliath corporations. But we believe that by helping them in this group, we're helping maintain one of the most important aspects of what it means to service your customers as well as be a part of your community. So overall, our membership is all about being experts in safety and about being customer relationship oriented organizations. We're those fast speedboats who can change their operation or change their daily activity in order to make sure that we serve you in the way that's best for that day. So we hope that by using our collective safety superpowers, our collective knowledge over here, to not only make ourselves better, but to also openly share with y'all that we will earn more opportunities to get to know you, and maybe even earn your advocacy for working with Safety Network distributors. It's quite amazing to find a group of individuals, a group of companies that are willing to say, hey, there's so much knowledge amongst us individually, but collectively we have a serious thing we can give to not only ourselves, but the world of safety, our community of safety. I mean, y'all can imagine what it's like to have distributors from all over the nation. I mean, we have 50 plus distributors all over North America here, primarily in the United States, some in Mexico and Canada. But they have such a vast amount of experience and knowledge. They go into countless, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of end user customers, again, manufacturing sites, construction sites, and they go from site to site, learning what are those safety challenges that they're dealing with, what are the unique applications and environments that manufacturing facility has to handle. And after you've done that hundreds of thousands of times, the amount of knowledge you gain just from that firsthand experience of helping people address these challenges, you can all of a sudden be a disseminator of these learnings. And so our group comes together And you know, we take all of these learnings, all these experiences, and we say, hey, you know, if you find this customer in this scenario, here's what we've seen as a best practice to handle that. And we work to educate all of our members so that they have those solutions. And we're going to work even harder to make sure that we're constantly passing that knowledge out publicly to the community. You know, we feel like we have a responsibility to take all this knowledge and this very unique perspective we gain from walking into so many customer sites. We feel like we have a responsibility to share this. You know, safety is too important for us to hold it to our own advantage. We're better off giving it all away. We're better off, you know, making sure that all of y'all can raise your game. And we do hope that by doing the right thing, by sharing this openly, by supporting folks like Safeopedia.com, who's a free library of safety knowledge, you know, by doing these things, that we will earn your advocacy, that we will earn your interest in saying, I want to talk to my local safety network distributor. I want to talk to the person who knows safety. I need that resource, and I respect the fact that they're dedicating themselves to being the best they can be. So if you believe in our mission, if you believe in, you know, raising the bar for not only safety distributors, but the entire safety industry, you know, help support us. Let us know that you like what we're doing, and we'd love to even hear your ideas in regard to what we can do collectively to continue to raise that bar even further. So again, thank y'all for being here today. You know, we very much hope that you enjoy the show, enjoy the people we brought together to share with you today, some of their knowledge and experience they have from taking care of their customers. And you know, without further ado, I think it's important that we get this show on the road. So thank y'all for being here. Enjoy the show, and we hope to see you back here again soon. And so we're proud to have 4 of our members here today. Some of them are owners of their businesses. Others are the management team that run the inventory that's been so stressed during this COVID-19 pandemic. And so at that, we're going to pass it over to them and let them tell us a little bit about how COVID-19 is affecting our PPE supply chain and help us navigate the mess of masks we're just seeing hit the market right now, and hopefully have a little fun while we're at it. So gentlemen, with that, you know, I'd like to pass it off and ask each one of you guys to introduce yourself. One at a time, of course, and just let us know your name, you know, the company you're with, some of the industries that you serve, and we'd also know one fun fact about you personally, so we can all know a little bit more about you. But is there anybody who wants to step up and make their first introduction?
Yeah, I'll go first. Hi, everybody. My name is Gabe Encarnacion. I am the Vice President of Bennett Bowen Lighthouse, headquartered here in Santa Fe Springs, California. I've been with the company, I'll be starting my 10th year now. And fun fact about myself, let's see. I've learned how to ride the unicycle when I was 12 years old, and I've been able to do that ever since. So I guess if the whole business thing doesn't work out, there's always the circus.
Oh, well, thank you, Gabe, man. We're excited to have you here. You still riding that unicycle around, getting to practice it?
I actually do, oddly enough. I have gotten around to it every so often.
We're going to need a picture of that. We're going to need something to know you with later.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man, we'll appreciate you being here, man.
I'm glad to be here.
I'll go next. My name is Scott Williams Jr. I'm the purchasing manager here at Safety Products Incorporated. Well, I say here at, but this is my bedroom. So, but normally at our facility in Lakeland, Florida is typically where I spend most of my time. So I've been in this position for almost 4 years now. And at Safety Products, we serve generally the construction market. We also have a large traffic control operation where we serve customers like W.D. Wright, and we do a lot of business with government agencies like the city of Orlando, for example. Fun fact about me, I would say pretty much every day I take my dog to dog daycare. It's about half a mile from the office, so to and from work, I take my little Australian Shepherd and drop him off and pick him up so that he can play with his friends at Das Hundhaus during the work week. So, yeah.
Does he get separation anxiety from you, or is he excited to go see all his buddies each day?
every Monday morning, he's so pumped to get back to daycare, you know, like he leaps out of the Jeep.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh shoot. Yeah, well, appreciate you being here, Scott. We know you've been managing the inventory over there heavily, and so we're excited to hear some of the insights and some of the, I'm sure, the long days and nights you've been going through. Yeah. Who's up next for us?
I'll go ahead. My name is Doug Lara. I'm with AGS Safety Supply. I'm the president of the company. I've been here for way too long, but sometime 35, 36 years, something like that, a long time. We service pretty much all markets: utility, manufacturing, construction, municipalities. We're pretty broad in what we do. We spend a lot of time trying to be experts in what we do. So we spend a lot of money making sure that our people are well trained and can go out and make sure that our customers have the right product when they need it. So fun fact about me is I've got 3 boys, and each one of my boys have a different color hair. My oldest has blonde hair, my middle one has red hair, and my youngest one has brown hair. And they all have 3 different colored eyes. My oldest one has green eyes, my middle one has blue eyes, and the youngest one has brown eyes. When they were young, people would come up to the store, to my wife, ask her, kind of rude, but they'd say, "Are they all from the same father?" And I was a little tired of the question, and finally she'd look at him and just say, "No, they're all from multiple fathers." And it should so,
Just say there was no father and then walk away.
Yeah, even that too.
Just appeared.
Yep.
Shoot. Well, Doug, I feel like you probably, that's your dry humor coming through her. You probably trained her to have that kind of response.
I actually, after it happened a couple times, I'm the one that told her to say it. Yes, absolutely.
And by the way, while we're looking at bedrooms and hot, sweaty backgrounds, your founding fathers picture back there is pretty awesome. So kudos to that thing.
Always.
It's me, Elliot Kahn, Vice President of Purchasing and Branch Operations for Wise Safety and Environmental. And we service all markets. I've been with the company 36 years and going on 29. It's not too bad. Fun fact about me is I was once, when I was thin back in my 20s, I was featured on television on a variety show for contortion, and yeah, I used to do a little contortion. And one of the things that I really like to do for everybody was that really didn't have a lot to do with the contortion part of it, but I could blow smoke out of my eyes, or milk, or water, or whatever. But yeah. Fun fact.
That's a fun fact you shouldn't share with us, because next
I'm both fascinated and horrified at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay. So just forget I just told you guys that.
Elliot, I want to see the act.
Yeah.
Now,
In fact, get this. Let's just see a video, Elliot.
Let's see if I can get my shoulder out. I don't know if you guys.
Oh.
Oh.
You just be able to get it out pretty far. Do a few other things, but
I'm with Doug. Now we tuned in for a different show now.
I want video now.
Cool. I can do it. Maybe.
Holy cow!
Well, you keep
I don't think
practicing
you
for
need to do it.
next
I
time.
just want to see the old video.
Just Scott Cuthbert with Safeopedia. We're helping to host the conversation today. We're an online publisher of educational health and safety content and strategic partners with SafetyNetwork. So glad to be here bringing them to our audience. And my fun fact is I'm really digging the site isolation haircuts, because I'm on my second one already, and I think I'm getting pretty good at it. I may never see another barber again as long as I live. So.
Nice.
You're not doing half bad. Your counterpart Jamie's hiding his camera for a reason. I've seen his COVID-19 haircut. I had no changes, guys. It was just straightforward.
beautiful.
Chief.
Shoot. Well, again, we really appreciate y'all being here, and I mean, really, who better than y'all to help us and the whole industry get a better feel and vibe for, you know, what we're facing in regards not only the product demand for the COVID-19, but just the disruptions we've seen through the supply chain in general for PPE, so that we can all have a better baseline of what to expect moving forward. So we have a series of questions to take you guys through here today, and you know, we encourage you to speak up to the ones that you feel you know, most fit to hit your radar, and we'll just roll through these things together. You know, our first major topic we're going to stick in for this thing is before we get into supply chain and all that, is just PPE in general. I'm sure that there's plenty of folks out there with questions in regard to the masks they're seeing at the market, you know, the counterfeit things they're trying to avoid. So just from the start, you know, what should people know about the variety of masks that we're seeing hit the market right now to help with COVID-19?
I'll speak up on that one. I would say, first of all, be very leery of the KN95 masks that are out there. I've got multiple reports of them falling apart. The price is outrageous, and I think there's other alternatives that everybody is allowed to do right now. The quicker that we don't buy them, the quicker the price will come down. But as people continue to buy them, the price will continue to push up.
But you're seeing some fall apart, huh? Like,
yes, definitely.
I'll speak to that one too. I know that early on, when the demand for masks was spiking like crazy, we at BBL got hit up with a whole bunch of offers for, you know, buying masks and things like that. And part of it was that I just didn't know how to vet some of this stuff, especially with the KN95s, like what Doug was talking about. I know that there are some that are approved that are okay to bring in, but I believe those are very few and far between. And I just didn't have the bandwidth or the knowledge to even start vetting some of this stuff. And some of the counterfeits that are out there are just unreal. I mean, it was just too much, and the risk was too high. I just stayed away from those.
Have y'all seen that video of someone wearing the regular N95 mask and they can't blow out a lighter, and the other person wearing the knockoff mask leans up and just blows the lighter out with like a barely a poof?
No.
Like,
that sounds good. Though.
Wow.
Oh man.
Fortunately, the general public, they don't know what to look for.
Yeah.
So we have to be the professionals to help guide them to get them the right product. It is difficult, for sure.
Originally, NIOSH wouldn't allow them in the country because they didn't meet the standards. And then they just gave up and said, go ahead and do it, because they were pouring in. There really wasn't a lot they could do about it at that point. Personally, I've tried to stay away from it.
Yeah, we've done none of it. Nothing. Too many scams, too much gouging. I mean, the prices are outrageous. And the way a lot of these buys are landing, they're all seem to be, the middle of May seems to be the hot time. Middle of May to June, all these products are going to land. And once that happens, it's going to be a race to the bottom, and all these people are going to get stuck holding this expensive, basically KN95s or air loop masks that they're not going to be able to unload.
With that perspective, Elliot, I mean, so are we expecting just in the KN95 a flood of the market, or is that some in general?
I think the KN95s and the ear loops are going to be flooding. Between all these companies, and whether legitimate or not legitimate, or air freighting them in. You know, what normally would run you $10 a box is running $80 a box. And there's going to be a flood of it real soon. But when you hear on the news, it's almost nightly, at least here in my region, that you have all these municipalities that have bought into it also, you know, and they're landing, and they're turning right around and sending it back. They're refusing it. There's 3 lawsuits here in St. Louis against some pop-up companies that sold a bill of goods to the city of St. Louis.
Yeah, there's a ton of people out there selling masks that never sold masks before. I found an ad online they were advertising it, first of all, as an N95 mask. It was not an N95 mask. It was just a regular dust mask. And then when they finally put the picture up, it was not an N95 mask. It was a KN95 mask. And they still had it marked as an N95. And they were selling it for $12 a mask. And I was a mask. I actually emailed the guy because I was so insulted by what they were doing. And again, people, they're doing it all over the place. And again, they're buying into it.
We had a legitimate vendor, one of the manufacturers we buy from, sent an email out that they were going to get into the mask business, from gloves to masks. And he said, hey, get in now because it's going to be, we're going to cut off the availability to, after so many select distributors for N95s. So I asked them, so where are you getting them from? And they said, China. I said, you sure they're N95s? Oh, yeah. I said, I don't think so. I think you need to get back and check that out and get back to us and let us know that it's a KN95. Of course, he emailed me back saying, hey, I apologize, and you're right, it's KN95. But just think how many possible distributors didn't know they believed it was an N95.
Wow. And that's an instance where you had to help the supplier evaluate the product. I mean, the person who makes it. That's a wild thing.
And a legitimate supplier.
Yeah, so with respect to that, you guys I think touched on it pretty well. I mean, is there a way that people can protect themselves or be more cognizant of running into counterfeiting or even overpaying for the mask they should have today?
Well, I think there is. I think that whoever they're buying them from, I think they need to, if it's a .com company, go back and look to see if there's contact information, where they're located, how long they've been in business, what do they normally do. If they can't find contact information on the website, then don't do business with them because they're not being forthcoming with it. Look on the masks that they're offering for sale. Are they labeled correctly? Do they have the manufacturer's name, number, and possibly a lot number on it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think part of it too is that it's one of those if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is kind of scenarios. It seems like that's kind of been the MO for the ones that I've been running into, and I've had people call me and ask about masks that they're getting, and they're saying that this person says that they have all this supply and things like that, and I've gone back to the customers and had or the end users and have told them, well, first of all, how much are you paying? Have you bought it from this person before? They're like, no, it's just so and so. That's a connection from another person. Okay, that sounds kind of sketchy. You should probably take a look at that a little bit better. And what I've found from some end users too is that once they deal with a regular supplier that they have or a regular distributor that they work with, if that person's doing their job and they're able to kind of ask the right questions to kind of lead the end user to figure out, is this actually what I'm getting? Whether it's the price that they're paying or, is there a safety data sheet for that product? The moment you start asking a supplier questions like that, end users will find that the ones that are really legitimate are more than happy to walk them through that process and give them that information. The ones that are just fly by night or have no idea what they're talking about, they're going to disappear real quick.
Hey, another thing is, we can tell our customers or anybody that's looking online also, check reviews of that company. That would be a pretty good starting point. And then check the manufacturer's website for their list pricing and figure, yeah, you're going to pay more than the list, but how much more than the list, what is reasonable to you, but at least that's a starting point to let you know as the customer where are they normally priced at.
That makes a lot of sense there. I mean, so essentially vet the company, see if you can do any homework in regard to their existence and if they just popped up. And Gabe, I think you brought up some excellent points as well. I mean, ask just a couple questions about the product itself, drill into it, and see if they know what they're talking about. If they don't, they'll run away from you. And I've seen that from our distributors trying to source this stuff. As soon as they ask 2 or 3 questions to a supplier that's looking to sell like a bulk of it, they're all of a sudden unresponsive. So that makes it a lot
Exactly.
to do that at the end user level. So any other comments on that one before we jump on to another topic?
I would say continue to use your safety suppliers. There's a reason why we sell safety. There's a reason why I don't sell nuts and bolts. And if I started selling nuts and bolts, I would know nothing about what I'm talking about. But I've been doing safety for 35 years. Let me help you figure out exactly what you need. And all the people that are on this panel are experts as well. And their employees are experts. And that's what they do. And you can also find out that there's alternatives where you don't have to spend $5 or $8 or $12 for a mask, that OSHA is allowing other people to use other products. And that's really what you need to know. And don't panic. Just be patient and talk to your distributor. Start there first.
Yeah. Good points, Doug. And that when you mentioned OSHA, that reminded me also that the CDC has also got out a listing of quite a few acceptable KN95s. And then they also list quite a few counterfeit, what to look for. So that's been a pretty good print from the CDC.
Mm.
Yeah, and I'll just throw in there, I mean, I have a friend that I've known for years that has experience dealing with doctors and what he normally does. But over the past month and a half, maybe 2 months now, he took out half of his life savings and went on Alibaba and found a connection in China. And when he saw everything that was happening in Italy, I think like the very beginning of March, and he's been driving around like selling surgical masks to these doctors that he had connections with, and he wasn't in this industry at all. And he's making a lot of money. So, you know, it's crazy how much is out there right now. And, you know, just like everybody else said, I'll just, ditto that. Go with a trusted supplier. Is it really worth the risk?
Yeah, because you just don't know what you're getting, and your friend couldn't know what he's getting either. I mean, he just whatever. Okay, this is the brand. Let's roll.
Yeah.
But no, and you know, on that front, I want to shift gears just a little bit, but staying in this PPE vein. You know, you guys, it's pretty awesome and unique to have 4 essentially competing businesses that are willing to get on here and collaborate like this. And it's kind of a testament to our group overall, how much you guys work together in order to just raise the bar for safety. And I know I've seen it. I don't know if as much as it's been between you 4 or whatnot, but I've seen a lot of our members helping one another during this time. So I was curious if there was any, you know, and if you guys had any stories and or evidence of ways that we've collaborated to take care of our customers, even when it's helping that person through another distributor in this network.
Yeah, I've had multiple instances of that even over the last several weeks. I mean, several people on this panel just, you know, being able to bounce ideas off of somebody else. I mean, just people in general know that during this time, it's like you're trying to sort through just a large amount of information, whether it's about products or practices or whatever, and just having somebody that's in the same industry but outside of your own organization is so helpful to be able to just ask questions, find out what are they doing, what are you finding as your best practices. That's been super valuable. Even just there have been a couple other distributors in our network that have been able to get a hold of product that I wasn't able to get a hold of for one reason or another. And you know, I mean, I'm not getting gouged on pricing or anything of that sort. I really feel like these people are helping me out, and it is kind of a testament to how we're working together. Where, you know, I kind of remind myself every so often, it's like, well, these people are my competitors, but we're all able to work together, which is really encouraging.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of partnership, and anytime anybody can reach out to another distributor and just ask questions, it's actually really nice. It's nice to see what's going on in different parts of the country to understand what's coming, or if they're going through the same struggles we are. Just, it's a great support team.
We like to see all that happen. I mean, the amount of, when this thing first happened, we were searching for hand sanitizer and things like that, and it was all going in short supply. the amount of times that one of y'all would find a good quality source and help other distributors get it so that you guys had it all around the nation was pretty impressive. So it's been a fun part to see it from this side of the equation, see all you guys bouncing back and forth. Let's move on to the demand side of things, because I mean, we've seen unprecedented demand for certain topics. I'm curious, what demand that you guys are seeing that's new from COVID do you think is going to remain for the long term?
Probably the biggest thing right now is going to be nitrile gloves and latex, but that's going to stick around for a while because there are still orders in place. They're going to go into late September, October, maybe even into November. Wow. That's going to clog up the ability for large amounts of gloves to get back to the end users. It's a problem for certain industries that have to have them in order to operate. Think of food service and restaurants, things like that. All these businesses are about to open, and it's going to create a greater strain on that market than there already is. So it's going to be interesting to see how we get through the next 3-4 months with limited supply of gloves that are available.
Yeah, I agree. Disposable gloves, masks, not necessarily N95s, but all the face covers that you see coming out these days, those will be worn by, I think, a lot of society moving forward, especially, with that fear of a second wave in the fall. It will continue for a while. This demand, this need, and so yeah, it's going to definitely put a strain. I know for a fact on those two areas. I agree with Doug.
As far as industry goes, I think as far as N95s and so forth, I think a lot of companies will reassess what do they really need. Maybe make an investment in sanitizing and reusing, possibly to stretch out their own supplies. To try to save on them, because again, like Scott was just saying, there's going to be a shortage on the N95s that's going to go on for, probably into the end of the year. And nitrile gloves, same way. We're probably not going to see stocking orders coming in like we're used to, probably for another 6 months. Where these manufacturers get back to shipping on a regular, with most of those disposables coming out of China and things are held up there, the world demand, and I don't believe their factories are operating at 100% yet. I'm hearing somewhere around 40. I don't know if that's true or not. And then a lot of the new glove companies that are jumping in, just like they did with N95s. They'll take your order today, but they're still quoting, 4 to 5 months before you'll see them. So, nitriles for sure, but it'll be a domino. Disposable clothing, we're already at 15 weeks for lead time for most disposable clothing companies. And then glasses, face shields, and headgear are the next. It's hard to predict that.
I think you're going to see some kind of the macroeconomic factors rolling in as well too. Like some of these companies that you mentioned, even Elliot, that are in China, they've shifted their production from maybe making disposable clothing, and they went to gloves, or they went to respirators just because the demand was there. And so even though they might be retooled for those, or they might have the tooling for disposable clothing, or even something like rain gear, to get back to making those things, they're going to have to change their production completely. So we're seeing that even product lines that didn't have anything to do with COVID are getting slightly longer lead times because the production capacity has been changed. People have reallocated resources to the in-demand items. And now to shift back is going to be a little bit trickier. So I think anything that's cut and sewn is going to have a little bit of a longer lead time. Anything that's similar to a COVID-related item in method of production, or even the materials that are used, you're going to see a slightly longer lead time of those items.
This is truly a domino effect. I mean, we're talking about increased demand that's going to be sustained all around the world for these products. Nobody at top capacity, everyone converting their facilities to do this stuff. So it's impacting just different products across the safety supply chain, huh?
You know, it's interesting because as we talk to customers, and I remember when the N95 thing started, we were trying to explain to customers what was going on, and many of them would get upset and basically just say, we'll go buy it somewhere else. And then 3 or 4 days later, they would come back to find out that they couldn't buy it somewhere else, that they were having, it was a demand problem everywhere. And this went on for probably about 3 or 4 weeks. The glove thing is starting to happen where people are starting to realize that there is not the ability just to go out and buy whatever gloves you want, and the prices have already increased in some cases by 100%. The thing that everybody is forgetting is, and we all do this because we get into our own little environments, we forget that the rest of the world is also demanding these products. And China is only producing about 10% of those. Malaysia, I think, is around 60 to 70%, and then the rest of it's coming from other parts of the world. Malaysia has been on lockdown, so they're in the same boat as far as they haven't even been able to produce gloves for such a long time, but the raw materials are in such short supply because of the continual demand. And then you've got the shipping issues because you don't have enough boats to go all the different places, and the amount of products that are being moved. Talk to UPS or FedEx, ask them how busy they are right now. They will tell you that they are busier now than what they are at Christmas time. You'll start looking around, you'll start seeing the budget trucks and the other trucks that they rent because they can't keep up with demand. They're all hiring right now. But it is, like I say, it's a world problem. And I think we all forget that versus just thinking it's an Arizona problem or a Florida problem or a St. Louis or a California problem. It's everywhere, and not just here.
It's not going to stop anytime soon with, as long as COVID's around. But once we do get it under control and all these states start opening back up here in the country and everybody gets back to work, they're going to need supplies too to operate and do their general day-to-day to sustain their business. And we're going to have to continue rationing and scraping for product. It's just going to continue once everybody's back to work.
Well, on that note, like I volunteer in my spare time with an organization. We have frontline workers. Everybody's talking about N95s. We're talking about getting out there helping families in the community. And so we connected with a local safety network distributor here, and they helped us figure out that for the application we're looking for, it's just the face shields. It's not the full N95 mask. So again, there's so much hype around N95s. Like, how do people be proactive and understand what they're going to need as the return to work starts to happen?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point that you bring up too. That and to go back to a comment earlier about why you want to go to a safety distributor to give you the right information. A lot of places will just tell you, if you want an N95, they'll sell you an N95, or if they have it. Or if you want a nitrile glove, they'll look for nitrile gloves. What we've tried to do is really to find out from our end users, what is it that you're trying to do? What are you using this for? We've had certain instances where we've had end users that wanted to have, they're just buying up face shields like crazy. And these are impact rated face shields. And we found out later that they were just using them basically as sneeze guards. And we said, well, how hard are your people sneezing? These are impact face shields. And so we were able to find a different product for them that was actually better for the application, saved them some money, and ultimately they were much happier with what they got. We've had instances like that with people looking for N95 masks, and then we find out later that they just needed a face covering. There wasn't actually some sort of a hazard that they were trying to protect against. And then the opposite has even happened, where someone came to us looking for just a surgical mask, and then we find out later that they're working in a refinery, and you can't just be wearing a surgical mask when you're when you're around all that stuff. So just giving them the right information, and not just knee-jerk reaction and getting the customer or the end user exactly what they're looking for. We want to find out, okay, well, what is it that you're trying to do? And then we will find you the product that is appropriate for your application.
That's a great point, Gabe. And also, while our sales folks are talking to the customers, that can the problem, whatever they're protecting their employee from, can it be engineered out? And like Gabe said, is it the right product? But can it be engineered out? Then they wouldn't need to buy that product, which could shift it somewhere else.
Especially in an instance where the product itself might be extremely hard to come by. So, no, I mean it's funny, and whether you like tattoos or not, I equate it to going to a tattoo artist and either telling them how to draw your tattoo or saying, "Here's what I'm thinking of. Well, how would you draw it?" And trusting the artist to give you the right solution.
So I don't give myself tattoos.
There you go.
How many tattoos you got, Brandon?
I can't air that right now. Fun fact. Got 3, bro. On that same front, so as this was coming down the pipeline, as we started seeing news about COVID-19, and like we saw it budding up in China, and we thought, there could be repercussions, and this isn't your guys' first rodeo to have disaster relief or anything like that. I mean, it's the first rodeo for a pandemic of this size for everybody. But I've seen y'all respond to tornadoes, to hurricanes, and just do things that are incredible. I call it using your safety superpowers. I mean, it's pretty cool to see what y'all do. What were some of the actions you guys were taking on the front end before all the supply chain started getting thrown for a loop to prepare for this?
Well, for WISE, we back in late January, we implemented the rationing program company-wide. We've got 10 locations. And immediately, everybody started putting in their orders because it really wasn't, the manufacturers weren't rationing at the time. So we, watching the news mid-January, there was the talk of, once they started saying that people were dying in Wuhan, China, it's got to make you think that, like the ocean, we're going to have the wave. It's going to come across. It's going to go around the world. So we got our orders in, and we were very fortunate to do it early. So continuing to ration has been and I call it extreme ration now, because originally, once we started getting product, it was landing in February, all throughout the month. March, we were getting product. But then once the manufacturer said, hey, we're gearing everything to healthcare and government, that's when we implemented the extreme rationing. And that's been successful for us to be able to sustain our supplies to take care of our regular customers that we need to take care of, that need that product in their jobs, whether, masks, gloves, glasses, face shields, whatever it is, disposable clothing.
Can you help us understand when you say rationing or extreme rationing, what that policy entails?
So right off the bat, the easiest way to do it, to ration, is, you've got your regular customer, for us, let's say it's Anheuser-Busch. So we've got Anheuser-Busch that normally uses, let's say, 8 boxes of N95s a week. Well, we know we need to ration because we got to stretch it out as long as we can. So when Anheuser calls up and they need more respirators, more N95s, first thing is, customer, how many do you need to get you by? What can we do for you today? Let's not look at it like you're going to hoard it like toilet paper. So will 2 boxes do you for this week? Yes, sir, that'll do, 2 boxes. Okay, no problem. We ship the 2 boxes. They call back in a week. We need 8 boxes. We need a case. Well, customer at Anheuser, what will get you by today? Well, I guess a couple of boxes. Would 1 box get you through? Yes. So they take it. So now we've just extreme ration, gave them 1 box. And we've just worked the same rationing program throughout, and it's really done well, because basically you put it back to the customer to find out what do they really need. They don't need 48 boxes. And some customers do. We've got a utility company that they do need 48 boxes every couple of weeks. But we also ask them, can you extend the life of those? Can you reuse some of them? You know, I understand a lot of them will get nasty and you can't, but, and they're like, yeah, you know, we never thought of that. You know, we could brown paper bag them and mark them Monday through Friday, because that's what the CDC says to, you know, kill the virus after it sits for so long. So a lot of the customers have been very receptive with that and have implemented that also, that program, to try to reuse. But moving forward, you know, it's not rationing just N95, but we ration nitrile gloves. It's the same way. Can they be washed and dried? You know, if they're not torn up, can you reuse them? Disposable clothing, that's a tough one, because, you know, that's a tough one to clean. But we do ration disposable clothing and glasses and face shields. That we just have to do it. We've got to make sure the product's good.
And I appreciate that, Elliot. That makes that clarification, I think, was important. I mean, because essentially what you're doing is making sure that you can get your inventory cleaned out so that you can take care of multiple of your important customers that have to stay up and running, right? I mean, you're just that's why you're putting that policy in place and asking them. Is that accurate?
Oh, absolutely. We've got to make sure that we've got to have product for our regular customers that we've been doing business with, that have relied on us to supply them the products that it takes for them to function in their jobs and sell their products, and, you know, send their folks home, you know, safe, and get them to come back the next day so they can continue to work. And another thing is that if we sold all our product to the first guy that says, hey, I need 1 million boxes, you know, unreasonable request, by the way, but you sell all your product, and now you've got the guy that you've been selling, or the guys that all the many companies you sell to, and you don't have product for them, and they have to go look for it elsewhere. I'd say 50, 60% of those guys are not going to come back. You're going to lose that customer, that guy that relied on you for all these years, that did business with you. You couldn't take care of them because you saw dollar signs to sell them to the first guy.
You sold out to the, yeah. Is that pretty a standard practice for the rest of the folks on the call? Are you guys going through that rationalization as well?
We did pretty similar.
Yeah,
About the only thing that we did that was different is we've been communicating with our customers. We've sent letters out to them, letting them know exactly what was going on, letting them know that we were going to be rationing, and then also letting them know that we were taking care of our current customers first. Those that were not our customers, we just let them know that we would do the best we can to take care of them, but there was basically no promises. That's not how we wrote it. But we had to make sure that we took care of those that have been taking care of us for the past 40 years, and they came first, definitely.
Right on.
Yeah. Also, another aspect of the balance was hiding a variety of different products on our website. COVID-19 related products. We got an influx of cash, what we consider cash sales. You know, somebody just showing up in you know, California and wants, you know, 500 boxes of nitrile gloves, and we were getting inundated with N95 requests. I mean, our website was blowing up. We were happy with the amount of people showing up on our website. Like, this is great, but we really didn't have anything to offer them what they were looking for. So we had to hide those products and also make little notes like temporarily unavailable. We put a big banner on the top of our website, letting people know where we stand, and you know, that we'll do our best to serve them, but, you know, kind of outlining where we're at and what these are the products that are at very, very limited availability at this point. You know, we assigned our customer service team to kind of start inquiring as well about like their needs, and going through a process with the managers as far as like, you know, we want to be there for our loyal customers, like their priority one. However, we also see it as a time to potentially take advantage of new opportunities that come our way. And so do we have a little extra that we can give this person? Because we're looking at the long game too, you know, what's the potential here? How big can this relationship get? And if we're able to be there for them now, will they remember us in the future? And so, you know, it's a game, and you want to be smart about it, and it's a balance. And I think we've done that very well by communicating. You know, sometimes we talk about over communication and we get too many emails. Right now, I think that the more communication that we can have, the better. And so we've been staying in very close touch with CSRs and the managers, and they've been kind of going through a vetting process with certain orders, quotes, and just keeping a close eye on all the activity, because it's been extremely overwhelming. Just to kind of real quick go back to your first original question, and we did something very similar to what Elliot was saying. And you know, fortunately enough, my grandfather, you know, started this organization around 40 years ago, and so he's been through this many times. And when he saw what was happening at the end of January, when the first confirmed case in the U.S. had happened, we bumped up our replenishment numbers. We put in some what we call, you know, frozen lead times, and really made sure that we had sufficient inventory, placed some large POs. So I was certainly grateful to have that guide and that mentor during this process, because we were able to take advantage of that early on as well. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how we've been handling the demand.
So overall, I mean, it sounds like you guys took some serious moves to make sure that you had the right supplies in stock for the customers that you knew would be relying on y'all most, and you made sure that you didn't get yourself sold out of those products on behalf of those core existing customers. And at the same time, there has been, Scott, to the point you were just sharing, there's been a good amount of stories from the network of them getting calls from people who were directed by the federal government, like one of the hospitals that I recall, directed to buy directly from the supplier. And they were still having a hard time coordinating it. And it took one of the safety network distributors to walk in and say, I know I'm not the person expected to do this right now, but I'm local and I have the resources. I can get this taken care of for you. And they ended up not only getting them masks, but they also got them some respirators they found out in the marketplace as well. And it was for us, it was quite the story, because we're like, man, there's a little old safety network distributor outperforming the giants out there, helping take care of their community, because we know how to navigate this network right now, where everyone else was figuring it out from scratch. And so it was a time for us to go out there and take care of people wherever we could. But I think one of the coolest takeaways I've seen is just how much y'all have made sure your core customer base is absolutely taken care of. I mean, people that come to you and trust you for safety, you took the time to not just sell product to anybody and everybody. You took the time to set their stuff aside and wait on that when they needed it. So that's pretty impressive. So on the same vein, let's see what else we got on this, right? So we covered how you're protecting existing customers. We covered so we covered how you're handling new customers. That was the next question. New customers are coming out of the woodwork, and they're flooding all of our distributors. So is it safe to say that you guys all have a pretty similar strategy there as well, that if it's new, you take the time to vet it and understand how it's going to fit and make sure it doesn't damage existing, or are there other practices out there?
Oh, we're absolutely vetting any new sources that are coming in too, and or new requests that are coming in. Something that we've tried to keep in mind as well, and I think Scott brought this up too, is that we want to help our end users and even the people in our organization to kind of have that long-term look. When you read the news every day, or you just on social media or whatever like that, you just are inundated with just what's going on right now, and what you think you need right now, or what the latest crisis is right now. But understanding that COVID-19 in one way or another is going to be handled eventually. The other thing too, and I think Scott, you brought this up as well, is that this is not the last time something like this is going to happen. There's going to be another crisis. There's going to be something else that comes up. It might be something that you see coming, or it might be something really, quick. We try to take a look at how are we building our businesses so that we could support our end users in a way that has that long-term perspective in mind. When it comes to new requests or new end users that want to come up to us, we are kind of going through it and checking to see, okay, well, where did you hear about us? who have you talked to? If there are referrals from existing customers of ours, definitely they're ones that we want to talk to because we know the people that are referring them to us. We have purposely turned down people that are, for lack of better term, kind of fly-by-night situations where they just come up to us and say they want to buy X number of products and then they're gone. That doesn't support us as a business, and in fact, it hurts our customers as well, because why am I going to give all this product to somebody that doesn't support us and that we have never supported at the expense of someone that's been doing business with us for decades? It doesn't make sense. But yeah, we are looking at new opportunities still, but very, very carefully.
Making sure you manage properly.
Yeah. Has there been new customers coming forward that are the frontline workers that maybe you guys hadn't worked with in the past that are now kind of a top priority, federally that you're stepping in and helping out with getting product?
So yes and no. Yes, in the sense that we have a lot of local hospitals and first responders who have, we know that there's a need. I mean, I've got even some family that are in the medical field that I believe it was my sister-in-law that said that she had just one mask, and she works at a hospital here in Southern California and just had been using this mask over and over again. And so it just kind of had to tell her, we have a safety company, right? But the weird thing is that because of some of the regulations that have come up and some of the legislation that's come up as well, that those supply chains of these hospitals and where they're supposed to get their product from has been changed. And now they're being directed to go to maybe much larger national distributors and have to completely upend their entire buying process. Instead of going to an actual safety distributor, someone who knows the product, knows the market, and then can get the product to them very quickly. Going back to this, the hospital example, I literally had product ready to go and was ready to ship it to this hospital and was waiting for them to get in touch with me so that we can get their account set up, et cetera, et cetera. Call never came, and that blew me away. And I think that it just goes back to the idea that there's a lot of other stuff at play behind the scenes, whether it's the politics behind it, the logistics behind it. I'm not entirely sure, but we are still seeing. I know there's demand for first responders to get product, but for some reason it's not the easiest thing to do business with them sometimes.
Yeah, we had several situations in the very beginning where we had product that we were offering to hospitals who turned us down. And I think some of it is because the hospitals weren't either prepared or in the sense to make those purchases, or they weren't taking it seriously enough yet. And I think it was seriously enough yet because most of those hospitals that we contacted in the beginning have since placed extremely large orders with us that we have filled. Most of those have shipped, but it's taken 6 weeks versus originally when all this started, we had product on hand that we were happy to provide them that they didn't get because they didn't take advantage of that when the opportunity was there.
Yeah, those policies that came out, I know were a little bit tough. It was strange to see the supply chain for safety get rebuilt in the middle of the pandemic. We've been preferred to see us use the already pre-existing safety supply chain. But and speaking of the whole supply chain, the suppliers themselves, especially our preferred suppliers, it's been tough times for them as well, working to respond to this. And so, do you guys, do you have any insight that you can share with us in regard to their policies or practices that are affecting the whole supply chain right now?
I think I think the manufacturers are rationing also, of course. But one thing that's been, for me, frustrating with some manufacturers is that they're not carrying a back order for you. So they either have product to ship now or not, and there's no back order. There's no waiting for 4 months, or they're giving you a monthly allocation, and you can put a PO against that monthly allocation, but then it doesn't ship. And then when you follow up saying, well, I thought I was allocated this product, well, yeah, we're not going to be able to ship it for 3 months. What's the point of an allocation right now this month if I can't have product? So that's been frustrating. But I understand it. Again, they're rationing. They can't get the supplies that they've ordered from wherever they're buying it. Logistically, it's log jammed wherever it's at. A lot of the manufacturers all buy from the same companies overseas, and the companies overseas make it for this guy this month, this guy that month, and this guy this month, comes out of the same facility. But there's all these other companies we don't think about that are also ordering from the same suppliers overseas. So it's just bottleneck for them just as it is for us.
Yeah. And I think you brought up an important point, Elliot. I mean, in regard to saying, your understanding of that dilemma. You get that they're rationing because they have to do the same thing that you guys do. And to shift our gears back, Doug, you mentioned writing some letters to your customers, explaining to them, the situation that you were in. And while I do feel like we're consistently very understanding because we get the supplier's world very much, do you guys feel as though your customers have been receiving that message strongly too and been supportive of your policies and practices during this time?
I think there's been a change because initially I don't think people really understood. But as time has gone on, they definitely have understood, and they're being more supportive of the efforts that we're trying to make and understanding that, look, we're trying to get them product and we're doing the best we can. But there's going to be some situations where they're not going to get everything they want, unfortunately. But we do have product. We have been able to ship. We've been able to continue to provide N95s, gloves, masks. But it's back to what everybody's talked about. It's not in the quantities they want, but we've still been able to provide product to everybody that's wanted it for the most part. So it's been good in that sense.
Yeah, and so they've been receptive as times went on, as the times changed. And Scott Williams, you mentioned communication. Are you guys doing the same thing, really letting your customers know where you stand?
Yeah, I mean, letting our customers know where we stand. Yeah, I mean, as they call, a lot of our FSRs, well, actually not a lot, all of our FSRs are working from home. So they, are having to, they have a lot more communication with their customers. They're a lot more, I think, and as business has slowed, I wouldn't say the busyness has slowed, but the overall sales have slowed. There's just over the past week, 2 weeks, has been different. It got a little quiet, and so we have more time to be proactive. But no, overall, the customers have responded well to our decisions. There's some that are gonna think it's unfair. But those are the same customers that have thought most of what we do for them is unfair for the entire existence, So, we just expect it from them. Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think it's good to be able to have that time to communicate, put it out there. It's clear that we're all in this together. And I keep hearing more and more people being like, yeah, we're getting there. It's a different world right now. So kind of more so going by right now. It's good. So, but one last one on the sourcing. As you guys have been, I know you have your preferred supplier base, and us SafetyNetwork, we even help you guys get access to those preferred suppliers and those best in class and just suppliers out there. But right now, sometimes it's just find what you can. So in the hunt for some of that PPE and keeping your guys' shelf stock, what measures have y'all taken to vet new sources and make sure that you're getting things in so that your customers are taken care of?
Well, let me start with that just real quick. I would say that we've faced several of these challenges, and it's kind of a gut feeling, and you have to really put the dollar signs and the percentages aside and say, what are we really looking at here? So far, we've relied on a few different things. One of them is the integrity of the Safety Products Incorporated employee that brought the supply source to the table, that introduced me, that said, this is, for example, this isn't PPE, but it's amidst all of this, and now is all of a sudden a product that people want and our sales reps want to be able to provide for people. But one of our FSRs has a neighbor that has a connection, that's able to provide us with infrared thermometers. And so, when we think about it, who is this individual bringing this to the table, and what level of trustworthiness does this person have, and do we take the time to pursue the relationship and to see if this is a really legitimate source. The other consideration is simply, is it a reputable supplier in the industry? How well known are they? Do they have a big name out there? And because they're eager to be there for people in our situation as well, to hopefully be able to capitalize on it, and build a relationship moving forward. So there's kind of a less of a vetting process for if someone's more reputable. And then basically the other source is if just a completely unknown source has sent me an email or called me out of the blue. We ask a series of questions like, what are the payment terms? What's the availability? Can you provide SDS and testing documents? All those sort of questions that usually gets them to stop calling or stop sending emails, like was mentioned before. And the reality is a lot of the times when I see that email come across, I just take my finger and I say delete. Because you just, what are you doing?
You're getting 20, 40 of those a day. Just. But there is an insightful thing you said there. It's the same advice we gave the end user customers. Ask a few questions, drill into that supplier, drill into that distributor to figure out what you're getting is legit. It sounds like y'all follow the same practice there.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
Are you, and it might be a big question, it might be kind of too early to answer, but are you seeing any positive changes that are going to happen because of the COVID-19 with the supply chain, like bringing production back to North America, or just streamlining, or better vetting of manufacturers, anything like that you see will have a positive long-term effect after we get a handle on COVID?
I think there will be new suppliers in the U.S. I think for sure we will see that. I know there's a U.S. made disposable glove that company's done well to supply product for nitrile because they're made in the U.S. And I think we will see more manufacturing coming back, or startups. I think we will for sure.
I think what you're probably going to see too is whenever there's some sort of crisis or a shock to any sort of system, whatever's really good gets greater, and whatever's really bad gets worse and gets cut out. So I think you're going to see some suppliers of multiple sizes, large and small, that will rise to the top because they have a good product, they stand behind their promises, they're able to deliver. And then the ones that maybe have been kind of skirting or just skating along for years, very much so, their shortcomings are going to be put on display, and people are going to experience it. And I think you're going to see some people that maybe should have been gone for a long time, that they're going to be gone, and it'll make room for people that are actually able to deliver, and not just deliver product, but deliver good product, and deal with good people. I honestly think that there's a lot of really good people that are making products out there and wanting to do right for end users. And I think that in situations like this, those people are really going to rise to the occasion. And you're going to see a lot of suppliers and a lot of products that are coming in that are a lot more solid. And that's my hope. And I think that being able to keep an eye out for those types of suppliers and vet them properly, and then start supporting them is going to be extremely important, and that's going to fuel a lot of growth in the future.
It's been interesting to watch the change in the suppliers, those that have supported you and those that have not. And it's really set, I think, the tone for what's going to happen in the future. And I think some of those suppliers that have not supported distribution and also customers as well, because the customers are aware of it. They're very aware that they're not supplying product. And there's been quite a few that have been very vocal about it and very upset. And so we'll see how that affects them in the future. But I do believe that, just as everybody else has said, that there will be some new opportunities that come from this. We know Honeywell is opening 2 brand new factories. One that actually here in Phoenix, that the president will be here tomorrow with our governor and also with the president of the safety division for Honeywell. And then they opened another one in Rhode Island to continue to produce more products here in the U.S. and hope to see more of that.
I'll tell you, I'm very happy that we're part of the safety network, because we've got top of the line manufacturers that we can rely on that have come through for us. I've got a couple, I don't know if I'm supposed to say names on here, but we've had a couple of suppliers, first in class for sure, that have taken care of us throughout this. And we've gotten product and they've gone the extra mile. There's not many manufacturers that we buy from outside of the group that I can say that have done the same. So I'm super happy with what's going on for us.
You can give them a shout out.
Yeah.
Can I give them a shout out?
Absolutely. And the ones who are taking care of y'all, and that's something worth telling the world.
Well, and trust me, they're all great, but we've had some tremendous success from Moldex and from Cordova.
Yeah.
Very proactive from Cordova, especially. Katrina, Kudos. She's always taking care of us. Regularly sends me emails to make sure that I've got the products that she can afford to spare me through their rationing, to make sure, and she lets me know whether it's my Little Rock location that buys it or my Salt Lake City that buys it. And that way we make sure that we can get the orders in quickly. Moldex, I've been in contact with Schubach Direct, and he's pulled through for me, when others can't. And sometimes I think, man, how did you make that happen? When the government's got such a big hand in there, But been fortunate.
Yeah. I will piggyback, and I ditto both of Moldex and Cordova too. It's almost like we already kind of knew who worked well with us, who really was investing and cared about our relationship, because those are the people that stepped up. Now there's also another one that really has been great to us. Publix is one of our largest accounts, and they buy a lot of gowns, and we get those gowns through Safety Zone. And so the Safety Zone has really stepped up, and they've handled our monthly allocation extremely well. Like, we've placed a PO when, at a certain scheduled time, and they have released to us our average monthly usage based on 2019, sales. And that's worked extremely well because Publix, although Publix, of course, need has increased, they've been very happy with what we've been able to supply them with throughout this time. They panic and they want to take it all, but like, hey, here's what you normally buy. Like, we could probably give you a little bit more, but like, just know this is what you normally get. So shout out to Safety Zone I think they've managed the allocation process, at least for us, extremely well.
It being that I'm old, I forgot one, and I got to get it in before I forget again. But I got to give DuPont a shout out too. Man, those guys have been fantastic. Also, they have taken care of me, and man, I got to say, they got a great team there. So kudos to DuPont also. Now I'll shut up.
Well, no, I'm sure that Publix, Scott Williams, was pretty aware of what a run-on toilet paper can do. So they probably understood, let's ration a little bit.
Yeah. Charmin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give a shout out.
Shout out to the Charmin. So hey guys, to wrap this up, and again, thank you for sharing the insights. I mean, it's stuff that for us a lot of times is second nature. We talk about it all day, every day, and we're working on making sure we have inventory for the industry. But I think to have this sort of insight into what y'all are doing to help make sure our grocery stores are open, that our meat packing operations are running, and just the measures you're taking to not just sell yourselves out, but instead keep our infrastructure alive is a testament. And, every time you go through one of these, it seems as though y'all have war stories essentially to share with one another about how you made it through. And so I'm curious to wrap it up, if we go on the horn and just take a moment that, if you guys could look back to, November, December of last year, what advice would you have given yourself in preparation for this one?
Go on a 6-month cruise.
Those usually started off as a 1-month cruise, then it became a 6 month.
Go on a 6-month cruise for sure. This has been the longest 4 months of my life.
It's interesting, yeah. When you say longest 6 or 4 months, whatever you just said, but to me, it's really flown by. There's no doubt. I haven't been in this industry for as long as a lot of my peers, but to me, it's flown by. Although the days seem to just be so overwhelming and hectic, I can't believe that we're already here in May. Because I've been working at home for the past 5 weeks, and I can't believe it. But anyway, if it were me, I said this before, and it would simply be, build stronger relationships with suppliers and peers in the industry. I've been told that I operate in a silo, and that's something I need to change. And so if I could go back, I would invest more time into relationships with you all, with the panel here and others. So.
That's awesome.
I think the thing for me that I would like to have done better, which I feel like I've gotten a little bit better about it now, I think is just building better resilience. I think that's probably what we're gonna end up doing even more so after this. When we talk about having the long game in mind, what are the areas in our own businesses, in our own knowledge or understanding of safety that we need to beef up a little bit more, so that when something like this happens, not only can we react well, we can react faster. And I think that even just having that certain level of knowledge, of information, of endurance, I think in all of this is absolutely critical. It could be something as simple as just making sure that you're eating right and getting enough sleep, to, as Scott had mentioned, to, building up your relationships that you have with other people, so that when times come up where there is a need, not only do you have people that you can go back to and go to for help, but you can go to others that you can help and give them the support that is needed by anybody at this time.
It's been wild seeing the amount of hours y'all are putting in as the owners and the management teams of your independent distributorships. I mean, I'm getting emails from y'all all hours of the night, and it seems like every time I talk to you guys, you're like, "What day is it?" It's the week, right?
I took my first day off since last year. I took off Friday and went camping, and that was the first even hour that I took off. I know we've talked on the phone not that long ago, Brandon, but I'm telling you, it's been crazy busy. And like Scott Williams Jr. was saying just a little bit ago, I agree with it completely. And it's odd that we've been so hammered since the end of January up until about a week ago. It just kind of got quieter. We're still busy, but different, you know?
It's because everybody's at the beach.
Back up.
Must be nice, man.
Well, I wish there was a beach here in the Midwest, but there's not.
You have a lot of sand, not much ocean. That's the thing.
But yeah, I noticed that too, that it just in the last week it's just oddly calm. And
hopefully it's not the calm before the storm. I mean, you can't have another storm. What else could there be?
That does, man.
Crazy.
So, Doug, did you have any words of wisdom for yourself in retrospect?
It's just, I think it's all been said. I don't really think there's much more I can add other than just, I remember after 9/11, everybody was prepared and everybody geared up. And after probably 5 or 6 years, we had several partners that actually stored product in our warehouse. They kind of all forgot about it, and they pulled the product out, they used it. And I think the same kind of thing is going to happen now, but I just don't want in 3, 4, 5 years for everybody just to forget about it. Some of this could have been avoided, and I'm not blaming anybody. That's not my point. But some of this could have been avoided if people were better prepared. And I think hopefully we all learn a lesson from this, that we remember what happened and make some changes in how we run our organizations, and ourselves included. And I think we all can learn from this. There's definitely some great things that came out of it. There's some tragedies. But I think the good side of what came out of this, if you look around and you see all the families together and you see the people together and the time that they've been able to spend, I think for the first time you saw parents teaching their children, as crazy as it made them because they realized how hard it was for a teacher. Hopefully they send their kids back to school with a greater appreciation for their teachers and what they do, and law enforcement and our doctors and nurses and all of the people that have been there, including ourselves. And then I also think about the people that are unemployed right now. They have sacrificed as well by not being able to work. And I feel for them just as much. And I just hope that when all this is through, that those that have been working will go make sure that those that have been unemployed get employed again, because we go spend money and do what we need to do to get everybody back going again.
Yeah, get a country rolling again. That's a powerful, powerful way to end that there. And
yeah.
So thank you.
Well said, Doug.
That's spot on. So again, y'all, we really appreciate you guys taking the time to be here. I think it's invaluable for people to get insight into what y'all are doing out there right now to support the PPE supply chain for our nation. And so we appreciate what y'all are doing, the extra hours you're putting in, and well, I'm sure we'll see you guys back here again. Hopefully we can do more of these things. So y'all take good care.
Thanks.
Thanks, Brad.
All right, thanks everybody.
Good to see everybody.